So actually, it's very difficult to set a thorough definition for product management. But for, like you correctly pointed out in the question itself, it's different for every company. So sector wise, even the customers that the company serves, it changes because every company will have a different target in a way on how they see their product 1 year, 2 year, 3 year down the line. Like for example, a startup, especially a B2C startup, let's say something like a mobile app or something, they'll most probably be focused on acquiring more and more users, and they'll track their growth through users. If it's a e-commerce thing, they'll track it through the average merchandising value and everything else. If it's some other product, it will track it through something else. But I think overall, if we look at it holistically, it's a product management is all about managing your core strengths of the product and enhancing them further. So the core value of the product never goes away, but you still keep on enhancing it in a way to meet the market's demand and the point in time, right? I mean, your product should not be very ahead of the time or very behind of the competition as well. So it's very important to balance that out, and in the end create value for your stakeholders, your customers, and basically every party involved in it. So I think mine was an accidental journey. I've completed MBA in finance, and I started my career being a financial analyst in equity research sector, and then I moved into risk management and fixed income sector. But one of my very early managers in the company, he thought that I have a better business analysis skill. Like I'm good at thinking through into what might be future requirements, or even talking to customers, and getting things done within the company or within the team itself. So identifying those qualities, he suggested that you should probably try out a business analyst role, and that's how I got into business analyst role. And when I got into a business analyst role, I found myself enjoying the in a way to help like do analysis to help decisions or make some crucial decisions about the product, understanding customer needs and everything. So I think that's how my journey started into product management, and ever since that I've been here. So it's kind of an accidental switch, I would say. Yes. So personally, I always give some importance to the soft skills part. Reason being, these skills are inherited within you. Okay, no one can sort of teach you, or no one can kind of train you. Even if you're trained, you'll always be kind of bookish in this skills. So with that in mind, the soft skills part, and then the core skills for a product management, if we divide it in these two groups, I place a bit more importance to the soft skills, such as having empathy. Now, having empathy, product managers get trained on that, how to show empathy or how to understand customer needs and all. But what is missed in these trainings is that empathy should not only be towards your customers or stakeholders, it should be internal focused as well towards your team as well, because at the end of the day, your team is the one who is going to develop that product, or help you meet those milestones and roadmaps and everything. So you should have empathy towards everything as a product manager, external stakeholders as well as internal team members. But again, empathy is something that cannot be taught to someone. It just comes with experience and understanding. So that is very important. Another thing is communication. Product managers, most of the day, if you see or if you read various blogs, you'll come to know that 80% of our time is spent on different calls, maybe talking to team members or maybe the directors and other leadership team within the organization, or even talking to customers or customer success teams and all. So having good communication skill, both verbal and non-verbal, is very important, because if you don't communicate properly, it creates a lot of misunderstandings. Your sentences get taken out of context, or if you're creating a story in Jira or some other tool that you may be using, if you're not precise enough, probably you're requesting someone, for example, hypothetically, to build a slide, but because you didn't give the requirements properly, someone ends up building a swing. So even the normal non-verbal communication skills are very important. And in the soft skills part, I think third one I would say is, nourishing and nurturing your relationships, because at the end of the day, in the practical world, no matter what you've been taught or done, product managers are leaders without authority. I mean, no one reports to us, maybe except for some BAs or something, depending on the company structure or hierarchy within that organization. But in general, no one reports to product managers, and that creates a you know very or that gives very much importance or emphasis to creating and nurturing those relations with your seniors as well as your team members, your customers, everyone, because you cannot tell someone by force to get something done. They will do things for you only if they trust you and have a relation with you. So that really helps. Now, coming to the core part of it, I think the most critical skill that a product manager should have is his ability or her ability, his or her ability to prioritize things. Because as a product or as a company, there is always an ask to do 10 things at one time, but it's the product manager's responsibility to be able to pinpoint and select the topmost critical thing to do at that point in time. Second, I would say, is the ability to see or make strategic decisions. Again, that is very important, because if you can't make those strategic decisions or foresee 1 year, 2 year down the line, probably you'll never be able to keep a track of your roadmap or even build a long lasting roadmap for your product. And third is analytical skills, because for any product manager, data is very important. Spotting trends within that data. We may have some BAs or someone helping us out there, but it's always good to have those hands-on approach to be able to analyze your product's usage or whatever data you may be tracking or KPIs you may be tracking on your own, and then analyze them further to help you prioritize or even make certain decisions. Yes, certainly there were certain skill gaps. Like some of them come through experience, some of them come to maybe having a good mentor or reading different blogs, books. Because I think one critical, not exactly a skill gap, I would say, but one critical thing that I found missing in my earlier days when I was a business analyst or associate product manager is the thought process. Okay, whenever a problem is presented, the first instinct of anyone trying to prove themselves or who are new in the role is always jumping onto solutioning. And to change that thought process takes a bit of time, where you focus on the requirements or you focus on the necessity and leave the solutioning to someone else. I think that is a very important, we may call it a skill set to acquire for any product manager. So that was a skill gap for me, which had more to do with how I thought about things or how I thought about problems. And having multiple members or even the case study based approach that pragmatic leaders had really helped me change my thought process or the way of looking at things. The process was good. I think just kind of falling back onto my previous answer, the core competency that I actually gained was about the thought process. Because as a before I joined Pragmatic Leaders, I used to work as an associate product manager. So working in that role for more than a year or so, already had an idea or inkling about what is prioritization, what is roadmap, how do we thin slice stories, what are Scrum rituals, everything. And I had also completed CSPO certification. So yes, there were some overlap between these two things. But what really helped me by talking to my mentor, Mr. Rahul, was the thought process of it. Like, it's not always necessary to do A or B. You can find a middle ground and actually get both of them accomplished. So that balance, or should we always go behind growth as a as a product manager, or should we balance it out with maybe sustainability or maintenance of the product? So, and how to manage a product through different stages of its life cycle. So I think these are critical things for a product manager to know, especially not just theoretically, but coming back to the thought process point, the way you think about different uh, approaches to take in a particular situation is what can actually make or break you as a product manager. So I think it was during the lockdown period I was looking to and I thought that through my APM role I had gained enough, but even in my previous organization there were not many mentors available as such. There were a couple, and I was reading through a lot of books like Hooked and other, and some different blogs on Medium as well. But somewhere I felt there is a lack between what I'm reading, what I'm doing at my job, and what might be expected in my next role when I make the switch. So I was trying to fill that up, and I think there were a couple of webinars that pragmatic leaders had organized. I got to know about them, I think, through LinkedIn or YouTube. And there was a free session or a free course as well on pragmatic leaders for at least 2 weeks that was offered, um, and it was a certification course. So that's when I got to know what your like pragmatic leaders is doing and how they are training product managers, etc. And I really liked their income sharing agreement program, which I felt was much better compared to the competition, because first it was live. I mean, it had a mix of both, like recorded sessions as well as live interactions with the mentor or other students. And then they had this weekly or bi-weekly live sessions from different leaders within the company, or who have reached a certain respectable position in the product vertical. So these were a couple of things that really got me interested in the program. And which was, since I was looking for a switch, the income sharing agreement program really made sense to me. It actually depends on your career goals, but I'm happy I made that switch. So for me, it was a natural. Although accidental, it was still a natural progression, because once in a business analyst role into the financial services domain, the next logical step was to move into a associate product manager role or a product manager role, which I did. So at least in my case, I had been in the financial services industry before becoming a product manager for close to 7 years, and that's what really helped me during the transition. But for anyone else, probably if you have been in the similar sector, or you have been in one sector for a consistent period of time, I think it's a good switch to move to a APM or a PM role, because then you'll have all the industry knowledge or a sector knowledge to make those business decisions, which become so critical for the success of the product. Apart from that, do take a look at your personal goals, but I do feel that it's a worthwhile decision, or it's certainly a worthwhile career path to at least be considered while making those career decisions. So I'm a bit ambitious person, and they do say that product managers are a breeding ground for future CEOs. I know no one will be a CEO in 5 years, but yeah, I do see myself moving in that direction, probably becoming a senior PM or a principal PM within next 5 years, like subsequently moving from senior PM to a lead PM to a principal PM, and then let's see how it goes on from there. But for now, I'm enjoying being a product manager. There are always many things to learn. The responsibilities keep changing. So I'm trying to grasp and acquire all those things. And luckily, I have some very good mentors in the industry who keep guiding me through different, scenarios or different situations that I come across. Probably not on a daily basis, but at least in terms of, making some product decisions. So like in any other field, you just should be curious about it. And I think product management is a big commitment, not just for yourself, but it also affects your personal life, at least in the initial few years when you're learning, or getting acquainted, or getting used to the pace of life as a product manager. So I always keep telling my other mentees or anyone, friends or colleagues who talk to me on this subject, that it's a big commitment, because for one, it's kind of a thankless job, as they call it, because if you are successful, the credit is always shared by within your team or with everyone, right from the topmost senior leadership to the junior most developer. But if it's a failure, like for example, if your prioritization goes wrong, if your requirements goes wrong, then there is no one there to share the responsibility of that mistake. But the win or any enhancement is always a shared achievement in a way. So it's a big commitment. You have to be available for quite a lot of time. You have to have that energy to be on calls for 80% of your day. Let's say if your day is of 9 hours, 80% of it you're talking to someone or listening to someone or doing something like that. So it takes quite out of you energetically as well. And yeah, it has a lot of competition, because I think this is one of the career or one of the fields where there are no such minimum or there are no such criterias of education or experience as such. There are, like people say you need to have 10 years, 12 years experience and so on and so forth. But that experience is very portable. Like for example, someone can have 7 years of experience in, let's say, some food delivery or maybe a food ecology system, and then they join a company who is looking for a product manager for that specific industry or sector. Then you are the best suited. So in this way, the competition is very high in this field. And since there is no certain set of guidelines or rules, or even for that matter syntax, as the developers etc use, it's always an open-ended interview that happens. Overall, I've enjoyed it, but I do feel it's a big commitment that you have to make to yourself, and not just professionally but for your personal life as well. So just be sure you're willing to do that, and then only jump into this.